Let's start with the logo of our Heritage Center and the motto, which is creative thinking, try to do it, try it out. So I will tell you about this project, Playground Circles. It seems not to continue. Okay, now it does?
Yes.
Okay. The project I will be talking about is a participative heritage project. And it's all about this playground, the playground of the secondary school of the Institute of the Sacred Heart. It's not just a playground. It's a rather large one. As you notice here on the map, on the plan, it's about 18,000 square meters. And it's behind the main buildings of the Institute. You notice there behind the main buildings, the circle of lime trees. The name of the project refers to two things. It referred, on the one hand, to this living heritage, the circle of lime trees. On the other hand, it refers to what we were intending to do, organizing debating circles with the stakeholders. Who were the partners of the project? We were the leader, Cultureel Erfgoed Annuntiaten Heverlee. The secondary school, Institute of the Sacred Heart, was our partner, and the regional authorities supported the project. Why a heritage project on a playground? Well, it's clear. We talk about a protected area. The playground is part of the landscape of the school, and it's, let us say, historically interesting. Why is it historically interesting? Because it's very characteristic for, let's say, the 19th century Catholic boarding schools in Belgium, boarding schools for girls. And what do we notice? It's very well kept at the Institute. You see on the back, I made a kind of mashup, Marta. I used your technique to show how the landscape was designed almost 125 years ago, and what's it nowadays. So it is protected by the government as heritage, and there are some very particular interesting heritage elements on it. To begin with, the famous circle of lime trees. The measures are big. It's large, and you see on the left an aerial photo of 1947, where you already see those trees. There's also a cross in the middle. This cross has disappeared, but the trees are still there. The cross has disappeared as a result of what you see, hardening. Many playgrounds in Belgium have been hardened in the 1960s, the 1970s. You see a circle on the photo on the right. That's where the Lourdes Grotto is. Another particular heritage element. It's there from the 1930s. Many schools, Catholic schools, of course, in Belgium had such a grotto, but very often this heritage element has disappeared. And here you see how this playground was used in earlier days by young girls on a Sunday afternoon on their in their uniform, The picture on the right is how it looks today with, in the meanwhile, the garbage bags. A third heritage element is the enclosure wall. And as you see, it is in a very bad condition. In fact, it has collapsed. It has collapsed due to the water. There has been flooding different times, always a result from the hardening of the surface. So that's rather problematic and has to be cured. So those are the reasons why a heritage project, why the project is a heritage project. But second question, why a participative project? Well, when we look nowadays to this playground, we notice that a lot of stakeholders are involved. You have the owner on one hand, you have, but you have also other people who are involved. You have the technical staff who do the maintenance. You have the students, of course, who use the playground daily. You have the headmaster. You have the teachers who do surveillance. But today there are also residents on the campus. There is a residential care home, and people want to make a walk on this playground when school time is over. So the playground is in bad condition. It's protected heritage. We have to do something about, but we prefer to do this in a participative way with all the stakeholders that are involved. Another reason why this is important to do so, because we notice that the concept of a playground at this moment has to be rethought. There's a rethinking necessary because the functions a playground had at the end of the 19th century are not the functions it has today. So we talk about something completely different when we look at the use of it, and a new vision is needed. So let's talk about it with everyone who's involved. So how did we work it out? There were different phases in the participation, and we all start with a network event in November 2018. And this network event brought, let's say, 80 people from students to sisters of the congregations together for a whole day, where they worked on the topics. And in the morning, we thought it was very important to inform the people, because let's not start thinking out of zero, from zero. We want to inform, and we want to do this by experts. So we organized 8 workshops. Participants could choose 3 workshops which they followed, and in the workshops experts were given professional input on different aspects of this project, a new playground. There is the heritage part, which I told you already about. There's the funding, when you want to do a restoration and create a master plan for a new playground. How can you find funding for it? And how limited is the funding? Because those things are important when you want to design. The architect is the expert who can tell you about how a design is developed, and a planning. And of course, we have to rethink our ideas about sports and movement, because sports nowadays is something totally different as sports in the 1960s, where team sports in schools are very important. Those visions change also. There's the point of waste policy, there is the point of tree care, there's the important aspect of inclusion and accessibility. When we talk, for instance, about the residents of the home, the care home, who want to use this playground. So different aspects that were dealt with. And then in the afternoon, we had a chat cafe. Chat cafe, which was rather well structured. The participants were divided now in 8 mixed groups. So young people or elderly people together in one group. And what was the purpose? The purpose was the exchange of information on the one hand. Not everyone did not follow every workshop, so they could exchange what they heard in the morning, and then they can discuss. They discussed on theses. There were 8 theses, and were organized 4 debating rounds. So you discussed on 4 theses while participating at the chat cafe. As there was a reporter in every group, as there was a president, all at the end, the conclusions could be collected. And what were some of the conclusions? Some of the conclusions were rather surprising in the way that young people took very mature conclusions and were very open to the sorrows and the needs of the elderly people. That was one of the remarkable conclusions we had in this project. Others, yes, one agreed that the name playground didn't fit anymore with the reality that the sports fields were not good on this place, that they had to be removed to another zone of the campus. That the playground had a story and that this story should be made more visible. The playground should be divided in different zones, was the conclusion, related to different functions. And as I told you already, the accessibility for the elderly people. And surprising also, the students concluded, together with the other participants, we need a quiet zone where the grotto can play a role in it. All these results of the project were gathered on a blog, which is still available on the net. So you find the link there. After this networking event, students continued working on the project in different groups. And there was also the Erasmus Plus project, a Garden of Eden, which was connected with this regional project. So there were students who were going to the UK, where they visited other schools and playgrounds there and were looking for inspiration for the new playground. There were in total in this site project 3 class groups involved. There were art students who used their talents in observation, but also in drawing to create a design for a new playground. As you see, the collage is an example of it. The math students made a math application. You notice how can you create 3D designs and put objects in the playground and let the measures still fit. And there were students who made a survey with a larger group of participants, and they brought the results together, for instance, on such pie charts. So all these elements of the project came together in a show moment in May 2019. And what was happening on the show moment, the results were showed, as the word says. There was also place for debate and for voting. At the debate, the owner was represented, the headmaster, 2 students, the architect. So all points of view were listened to and were exchanged. And at the end, there was a voting by using Mentimeter. So for students, this was, let us say, a very good exercise, and working on when we talk about key competences, on different key competences. You have noticed they have learned in this project to debate, do this in a very disciplined way. They have become more aware of the past. They have been using their creativity, even their entrepreneurship. So I think it was for students very interesting also in their learning process to participate. And for not only for the students, also for the architects, when once the project that gave new vision was finished and was developed, the architects could start making their master plan. And that's what it is, of what it looks like today. There are some changes I've heard in the meanwhile, but they are ready to take off the working out of this playground. Even the money was found, it seems to be. So I would finish my presentation with a question, maybe, as we have a methodology for working in a participative way with stakeholders. Maybe the ceiling, where we talked about yesterday, is a good new project to work on together. Thank you.